Distinguished guests, thank you so much for appearing before our committee to discuss these blatant threats that the PRC poses, not only to our cyber security, but to our national security on many, many levels. And Director Wray, I wrote it down when you gave your opening statement. You talked about, they want to wreak havoc and real-world harm on us, and we need to be ready if and when. And I think it's very clear today from our discussion that it's not if, it's already happening. So our answer is resiliency, it's prevention, and it's accountability. And so I'm pleased to hear about the work that you're doing interagency to counter these threats. And back in September, the chairman and I led a letter to you, Director Wray, as well as to Secretary Austin, requesting that the FBI and Pentagon brief members of this committee specifically on the gate crashers at many of our sensitive facilities, U.S. military bases, critical infrastructure. And it's unacceptable that the PRC was even able to gain access to many of these sensitive sites. They scuba dived around sensitive military equipment. They were able to infiltrate our Army test sites, missile sites, and then, of course, the most egregious example of the spy balloon going across our country. It's a blatant attack on our country to undermine our national security and breach our military and technical innovation. So I appreciate the prompt response to our letter, and I want to ensure that this conversation continues, that our security agencies are prioritizing this at the highest level. So I would be curious what the FBI is doing right now to further secure these critical areas to ensure that we are stopping these threats to the American people before they happen.
So we are tackling it through a combination of investigations, intelligence sharing, and engagement. And to break that down a little bit further, we have in all 56 of our field offices counterintelligence task forces that are FBI-led, but that have representatives serving on them from the relevant military agencies that are in that area, as well as in many cases state and local law enforcement, who are a very important part of giving us sort of additional force multiplier to help counter the threat. And so we've had a number of investigations into different kinds of efforts by actors associated with the PRC to spy on, if you will, or in other ways target our military installations. Intelligence sharing, obviously things that we learned through our investigations, we're able to marshal that and then share that back with our DoD partners so that they can use that to be even savvier about how they defend their installations. And then engagement, we're trying to make sure that the lines of communication are wide open between us and whatever military facility is in that particular area. When I visit an FBI field office, and I've visited all 56 twice, I'm on my third round now, it never fails to inspire me, the close relationship that exists between the local FBI field office and the military presence in that state.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are many, many of those partnerships that have been very, very successful in stopping many of these threats, but we can't rest on our laurels, and obviously continuing those conversations is going to be critical, and look forward to maybe further conversations there, perhaps in classified setting, about what more we can be doing. I want to quickly follow up in the remaining time that I have about rip and replace, because that is a huge, huge concern. Recently introduced a bill with many members of this committee, including the chairman and the ranking member, Representative Molinar, to help kind of breach that critical funding gap that exists for rip and replace. But it's certainly concerning when you hear about these routers and all of the different equipment that exists within our telecom. Some of them are very, very small organizations that do not have the resources. So we want to, of course, repurpose some of those COVID funds and put them toward ripping out this Chinese telecom equipment. That is a huge vulnerability. So Director Easterly, this question's for you. Can you address really the importance of a rip and replace program, not just for this level, but maybe do we need to look at expanding it further? And what are the consequences of us not taking action here?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly complex supply chains, as you know. But when it comes down to some basic fundamentals, I think you pointed out around the bill itself, 24,000 pieces of Chinese software in these supply chains. And so it's imperative that we help the owners of some of these less resourced entities to be able to make these important changes to reduce risk. Two things I would add is we co-lead what's called the Information Communications Technology Supply Chain Risk Management Task Force. And so I'm not even sure that they know that there may be capabilities with funding to do that rip and replace. So I think that education there is incredibly important. The other thing that I think we need to be aware of, and we, of course, the FCC has a covered list with a variety of different Chinese equipment from Dahua to Huawei to ZTE to Hytera. What we do is we make critical infrastructure aware that that may exist in their systems, so they can also be aware of the threat, either mitigate it or replace it. I think the whole effort is incredibly important, and commend you for the bill.
Yeah, well, certainly we have a lot of vulnerability, and we're working to get, and I realize I'm almost out of time, Mr. Chairman, but we're working to get a true accounting of what vulnerabilities still exist within even government buildings or even leased government buildings. So thank you for all of you appearing before our committee today. I yield back, Mr.